Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Palantir Technologies outperforms the market today, beating the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, closing in the green. And why this is especially important is because Palantir has a big earnings report that has a lot of eyeballs that are looking at it. This is going to be reported November 2nd pre-market. There's not many trading sessions left before this occurs. With that being said, we're going to probably expect a lot of volatility coming to PLTR, and we're going to be talking about, for you viewers, if you are either long-term, looking to make a quick buck, looking at the sidelines, waiting to get in on PLTR, talking about these different key scenarios and identifying key resistance and support levels for Palantir, depending on what your investment goals are. Now, with that being said, if you are a new or a returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting the data and dispatching it to you. If you want to get up to 12 free stocks on Webull by depositing any amount of dollar that you want, check out the affiliate link down in the description. Now, bring it up on the screen here. Let's talk about Palantir and why this is starting to get more exciting. And that is because Palantir, like I said, finished in the green today, basically consolidated at about that 16s. Yesterday, we made the video and the prediction that Palantir is likely kind of repeating these technical patterns and price targets and trading rhythms that we've seen with the last quarter earnings. And if we take a quick recap back, turn history back, time travel back to last quarter earnings, this is where we're sitting, is in this area. Palantir had this increase with a little bit of a resistance hitting at this 1844 area, was rejected, found support here at the 16s. Before the earnings were released, we pop up here to the 20s. And you see right here at this 20s, this is a strong resistance point. Earnings were released. They are basically in line, and Palantir has this 25% correction immediately in consolidation here between the 13s at the bottom and between the 16s at the top. Where Palantir sits right now is at the $16 support level, and is basically right where this cup and handle that was formed right here, where we talked about a few videos ago, at this 1844 buyback point. It failed that point. It failed that resistance point, and we saw this correction last Friday when Palantir fell down about 6%. Looking right here, this $16 support zone is being tested, and there's consolidation forming there. Again, we're seeing history repeat itself as we speak. Could we have possibly, as we gear up to that November 2nd date, could we have that 1844 area, the $18 resistance being tested, and of course that $20 resistance being tested? Now, what's critically important is what's your position on Palantir? Because if you're looking on the sidelines right now, I think there's too much volatility, and possibly you could get in at lower buying targets, especially down here at the 1368s, if Palantir doesn't meet their expectations. What if they miss their expectations? And this could be entirely possible, and this could be a large fall if Palantir, it's been set to these higher tiers. We've seen 5 bullish earnings per share revisions in the last 90 days, and Wall Street is setting it to these higher highs. We're seeing analysts that are changing their Palantir ratings from a hold to a buy. And even on the Zacks consensus right here, you can see that their earnings per share estimate recently shifted up 6%. Changing here to a number 2 to a buy. Where this leaves us with Palantir is, if you're holding, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing right now, because you could just basically be sitting here waiting for this long-term growth. But with Palantir sitting on the sidelines, also, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Personally, what I think we're going to see, and of course this is my opinion, this is speculation, anything can happen with trading, I'm just a guy on YouTube explaining technical patterns to you, is that we could see more consolidation here, and I think we're going to test this 1844 resistance before earnings are released, and possibly get into this 20s. Now, it's going to depend what's going to happen, of course, to the market generally, to the economy, and also, is Palantir going to come up with any more type of information regarding bullish media articles, regarding different things before their earnings, which they definitely could. Now, talking about that, let's talk about the possible correction real quick. quick and looking at the moving averages. Now, Palantir is sustaining above its 200-day moving average, which is great. And like we talked about with those consolidation periods between the 1363 and the 16, which was after the second quarter earnings were released, is that buyers are trying to break the $16 consolidation phase. However, we could see a bearish pattern, like I said, if Palantir meets these estimates of the 6 cents earnings and the revenue of $555 million. And that's why right now, if you're looking to get into the long-term growth pattern of Palantir, maybe sitting and getting through this volatility and waiting for after earnings may not be the worst idea, because right now the volatility is only going to increase, and especially possibly wait for a potential downfall versus the potential upside. I think it's just too risky right now. And this article is agreeing right here, of course, with these resistance levels and the support levels. However, talking about Palantir, and could Palantir possibly make you rich in the future? Let's analyze that. This article from Motley Fool talking about the path to possibly $1 million with a $10,000 investment. Now, this sounds exciting, interesting, and also kind of out of the ordinary where we come up. What this article is talking about is turning $10,000 into $1 million over 20 years. Now, this is considering a sustainable compound annual growth rate for Palantir of 26% over 20 years, or over 30 years at 17%. But right now, where we're sitting at is a decrease in revenue growth rate for Palantir. And this is one of the biggest criticisms that we see, is because of its high valuation. And Palantir claimed that it would grow annually by at least 30% between 2021 and 2025. However, in 2022, it only grew 24%. So we're expecting also a slowdown of just 16% of growth in 2023. This is why I think we could possibly see a correction here into these lower price metrics, and possibly allowing to have more attractive buying prices. And what we're seeing from analysts right now, from 2022 to 2025, they're only expecting Palantir's revenue to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 18% and reaching $3.2 billion by the final year, which is below the original target of $4 billion. And talking about that, Palantir is also maturing as a company, which is great if you want to be less risk adverse. But however, if you're looking for these stocks to make quick money really quick in that hyper growth opportunities, Palantir is starting to mature as a company. It's been public for 3 years, but it's important to remember that this company is actually 20 years old, and a lot of people might not know that, and this is why they're possibly already profitable, and they are a leading competitor in the AI industry. So therefore, a slower growth rate with Palantir, yes, that's less risk adverse, more on the safe side in terms of your actual portfolio, but that may not be out of the ordinary. And why we're seeing this is because we're seeing signs of the company already maturing with its rising profits, like I said, the profitable, and their new buyback. Remember, they had announced that $1 billion share buyback program, and that's technically an indicator of maturing within a company rather than investing into building, brand new and throwing everything into brand new products. Now, also, we do have for Palantir a great thing for long-term maturity, and in terms of the long-term growth metric is the GAAP profitability. This could be a fourth consecutive quarter of that. What this means is possible inclusion into the S&P 500. This is great because many different index funds utilize the S&P 500. This can cause a lot of buying pressure and also just a lot of diversification for Palantir. And with shares outstanding that are continuing to increase, this can help decrease that number. And this does help bring more sustainability to Palantir as a company and, of course, as a stock. So can Palantir help you become a millionaire? I agree that it can. But with a respectable and take more of a conservative, not a 26% compounded annual growth rate, bring it back to basically this 10% right here. Trading valuations, if you had that basically going to 2050 at about that same 10%, could turn 10,000 into 150,000. So still profitable, still making money nonetheless. However, I don't think right now Palantir is in that hyper growth phase as the company is maturing, and I do agree with that. So Palantir, where we see it right now, like I said, is at an interesting point. And depending on the scenario and what kind of investor that you are, I think really depends on your investment goals and really how risk adverse are you right now. But personally, if you're sitting on the sideline, if you don't have a dollar in Palantir, in my opinion, it may be best just to wait for earnings and see what happens. And if you get in on the downside and possibly catch it on attractive buying prices, Palantir could pay out in the future. Or maybe it shoots up and hey, maybe Palantir just isn't your stock and it's time to look for something else. So that's important. And with a lot of volatility coming ahead, there's going to be a lot of emotions coming to Palantir. But we'll keep you guys updated. And of course, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I can't thank you guys enough. Take care, peace out, and I'll catch you guys later.